I made $6 million by the time I turned 38. That number still doesn't feel real. Garrett Lindstrom, CFO of a private equity firm in Boston. Corner office on the 40th floor. But if you think this story is about how I got rich, you're already missing the point. This is about what happened when I realized that all that money couldn't buy me what I needed most. If you want to know what happens when financial success collides with mortality, when spreadsheets stop mattering and your body starts screaming, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't motivational. It's a warning wrapped in truth. I wanted security. That's what drove me in the beginning. Growing up, my parents lived paycheck to paycheck, watching my mom cry over bills at the kitchen table when she thought I was asleep. Seeing my dad work 2 jobs and still come up short. I promised myself I'd never live like that. Never depend on anyone. Never be vulnerable to the whims of an economy that didn't care if we ate or not. So I studied finance, became obsessed with numbers, with making money work harder than my father ever had to. I wanted enough money to never be afraid again. The climb started at a boutique investment firm in Chicago, right out of grad school. 80-hour weeks analyzing deals, building financial models until 3 in the morning, learning to see opportunities where others saw risk. I was good at it, really good. Within 2 years, I was managing portfolios worth more than my parents made in their entire lives combined. By 27, I'd made my first $1 million in bonuses alone. It felt like validation, like I'd cracked the code, but I wasn't satisfied. $1 million wasn't enough. I wanted real money, generational wealth, the kind of financial security that would make fear obsolete. So I moved to Boston, took a position at a larger firm, and pushed harder. Mornings started at 5. Gym by 5:30, because the partners rewarded people who looked the part. Office by 7. Calls with London, then Asia, then back to New York. Every minute optimized for maximum output. Every relationship measured by ROI. I stopped seeing friends who couldn't talk business. Stopped dating women who wanted more than dinner twice a month. My entire existence became about the next deal, the next promotion, the next 7-figure bonus. And it worked. At 32, they made me a partner. At 35, CFO. My compensation package hit $6 million annually. I bought a penthouse in Back Bay, a Tesla, a second home on the Cape. I visited twice a year. I had money flooding in faster than I could spend it. I'd achieved everything I set out to achieve. Everything my younger self dreamed about while watching his mother cry. I should have felt victorious, complete, free. But something was wrong. I remember the exact moment I noticed it. I was sitting in my penthouse on a Friday night, alone, looking at my brokerage account on my laptop. $7.2 million in liquid assets. Another $4 million in real estate equity. And I felt nothing. Not pride, not satisfaction, not even relief. Just this vast, echoing emptiness. I'd been chasing financial security for 15 years, sacrificing everything for money, and now that I had it, it meant absolutely nothing. The number on the screen was just a number. It didn't fill the silence in my apartment, didn't make the loneliness hurt less. I started noticing other things. How I couldn't remember the last real conversation I'd had that wasn't about quarterly projections or market volatility. How I'd stopped calling my parents because I had nothing to say beyond money and work. How every person in my life was either a colleague or a service provider. I had financial advisors, personal trainers, housekeepers, accountants. But I didn't have friends. Didn't have anyone who knew me as anything other than the CFO who made millions. The money that was supposed to solve everything had solved nothing. It had just built a beautiful, expensive prison. And then the headaches started. Not regular headaches. These were different. Sharp, sudden pain behind my left eye that would come without warning and leave me breathless. I ignored them at first, took ibuprofen, blamed stress and screen time, but they got worse, more frequent, more intense, until one morning in a board meeting, the pain hit so hard I couldn't speak, couldn't see, just sat there gripping the conference table while everyone stared. They called an ambulance. I remember being furious about the disruption, about the optics, about missing the rest of the meeting. Even as they wheeled me out on a stretcher, I was thinking about the deal we were closing that afternoon and who would handle it in my absence. That's how sick I'd become. Even my body shutting down couldn't break through my obsession with money and work. The diagnosis came 3 days later. Grade 3 glioma, brain tumor, malignant. The neurologist used words like aggressive and treatment options and prognosis, but all I heard was the number, 12 to 18 months. Maybe longer with surgery and radiation, maybe not. I sat in that hospital room with those words hanging in the air, and for the first time in my life, money felt completely irrelevant. I had $7 million, and it couldn't buy me time, couldn't buy me health, couldn't buy me another year with people I'd neglected for so long they'd stopped trying to reach me. All that financial security I'd built, all those years of sacrifice and 60-hour weeks, and choosing spreadsheets over life, and I was going to die anyway. Rich, successful, completely alone. I thought about my mother, who I hadn't visited in 2 years, despite living an hour away. About my college roommate, who stopped inviting me to his kids' birthdays after I missed the 5th one in a row. About the woman I dated for 6 months, who left because I checked my phone during her father's funeral. I'd traded relationships for revenue, traded time for money. And now, time was the one thing I couldn't buy back, and money was the one thing that didn't matter. The irony was so brutal, it almost made me laugh. I'd spent my entire adult life terrified of financial insecurity, so afraid of ending up like my parents that I'd built this fortress of wealth around myself. And what did it get me? A diagnosis I couldn't negotiate my way out of. A death sentence I couldn't outbid. The anger hit me in waves after that. Rage at myself for being so blind, so stupid, so convinced that money was the answer to everything. I'd see people through the hospital window, couples walking together, parents with their kids, and I'd feel this sick jealousy mixed with self-hatred. They had time, had people, had lives that weren't just numbers on a screen. And what did I have? A brokerage account I'd never spend. Real estate I'd barely lived in. Money I'd earned by sacrificing every single thing that actually mattered. I remember calling my mom from the hospital. First time I'd called her in 8 months. She answered on the first ring. I broke down before I could even tell her why I was calling. Just sobbed like I hadn't sobbed since I was a child. She didn't ask questions. Just stayed on the line, saying, "I'm here, baby, I'm here," over and over until I could breathe again. When I finally told her about the tumor, about the prognosis, she was on a plane within 3 hours. Took time off work she couldn't afford to lose. Spent 2 weeks sleeping in a chair next to my hospital bed. And I realized she'd been there the whole time. Would have been there all along if I'd ever stopped chasing money long enough to let her in. The regret was physically painful. More painful than the tumor. More painful than the surgery. It was the knowledge that I'd had everything I needed, and I'd thrown it away because I was too obsessed with money to recognize love when it was standing right in front of me. I had the surgery, radiation, the whole nightmare. The treatments bought me time, but they couldn't give me back what I'd lost. Can't resurrect friendships you murdered with neglect. Can't rebuild a relationship with your parents by suddenly showing up after years of absence. Can't undo choosing money over connection at every fork in the road for 2 decades. I made $6 million. I worked myself into the ground chasing financial security. And when I needed security most, when I was lying in a hospital bed wondering if I'd see another year, the money meant nothing. Zero. It couldn't save me, couldn't comfort me, couldn't buy back a single moment I'd sacrificed. The only thing that mattered was the people I'd pushed away, the relationships I'd starved to death while I fed my bank account. I was financially rich and existentially bankrupt. And there's no investment strategy for fixing that. Looking back now, I can see the trade I made. Time for money, life for financial security, connection for compensation. And it was the worst deal I ever signed, because money is just a tool. It can buy comfort, buy options, buy temporary happiness. But it can't buy meaning, can't buy belonging, can't buy back the years you spent alone at the top of a tower you built by pushing everyone away. My parents weren't poor because they lacked money. They were rich because they had each other. Had me. Had dinner together every night, even when dinner was just pasta and canned sauce. They had something I spent millions trying to replace and never could. They had a life. I had a balance sheet. And when the diagnosis came, when mortality looked me in the face and asked what I'd done with my time on this planet, all I could say was, I made money. I optimized quarterly returns. I maximized shareholder value. None of it mattered. None of it was real. The only real thing was the people I'd ignored while I was busy getting rich. And by the time I figured that out, most of them were gone. Not dead, just gone from my life. And I couldn't blame them. I'd made my choice. I chose money. And money is a terrible companion when you're dying. Chase your ambitions. Build your wealth. Secure your future. But don't do what I did. Don't sacrifice the people who make life worth living. Because here's what nobody tells you when you're climbing toward financial success. Money is the easiest thing to make. Time is the one resource you can never get back. And the people who love you won't wait forever while you choose spreadsheets over them. I'm still here. Still fighting this thing in my head. Still rich by any objective measure. But if I could trade every dollar for another chance to have dinner with my parents every week, to show up for my friends, to build something real instead of just profitable, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Because at the end, the only wealth that matters is measured in moments and people, not money. And I learned that lesson about 15 years too late.